Hello everyone out there in the wonderful world. No, that was just a joke. As you know, the world is awful. No, this was the real joke. Of course the world is beautiful. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Oberon channel. Again, it's been a long time since I made my last episode. You know, everything takes my time more and more because more and more interests are growing and I have more and more channels to work on. Well, every time I tell you the same, you know this already. Time is lacking for everything, but despite this fact, now I'm going to present you some, I think, interesting news for Oberon. That means that waiting for the new episode is fruitful. And I want to tell you two things. First, I want to drag your attention to the Oberon, native Oberon internet site, which is online since some month, but I didn't tell you very much about this because it was a little bit of growing. Now we have some basics in this site that you can work with, and I want to show you some very interesting features. And the second thing is I want to show you something I made in Oberon. It's a tool, or let's better say it's an application, because as you know, tools are selection of commands in a format of a text file in Oberon, and my tool is a real application. That means it's more or less a tool in a way as you would name it in Windows or Linux. That means a tool application, and it makes the work pretty much easier when you're doing with external hard drives and USB thumb drives. And I'm going to tell you this now. Okay, now you should power up your PC, either working under Linux or Windows or whatever you have, Mac OS, and start your internet browser of your choice. For me it's Firefox web browser. And now here comes the very important internet address you have to burn in your mind. Go to www.nativeoberon.org. I will put this information, this link also, of course, in the comment section of my video here. And what you get is a pretty simple HTML page. This is because I made the design in a way that you also can watch it in Oberon itself. As you know, Oberon has some browser functionalities inside its text tools, and this is optimized for working with Oberon. That means for a current PC application like Firefox or Microsoft Internet Explorer, this is pretty simple, and this is a pretty, let's say, skinny surface for what you are used to deal with documents in HTML format on the internet today. But as I say always, what counts is the content and not so much the format. So I'm not a friend of all those overwhelming stuff of blinking and beeping gadgets on my screen. I just want to concentrate on the content, and it's not pretty much more for me than reading a book with some pictures in it. So that's the reason why this is pretty simple. You see, you have a headline here, and you have some simple text and some pictures. They're always oriented on the left side of your screen. And of course you have some further links to go to other sections. So what I'm telling you here is just a little bit of the history of Oberon. You know, it's committing to put the pictures of Mr. Wirth and Mr. Gutknecht on the page too, because those two people still are my heroes. And I tell you something about the history, and I compared with some operating systems like the early versions of Microsoft Windows and of IBM's OS2, because there was a time where many operating systems were rising. Also Linux was rising in this time, and I made some comparisons here, some comparings what the benefits are, what the downsides are, and then I tell you something, what do we want with our homepage. And I deliberately say we because I'm not alone. At least there's one additional person that's supporting me, but also one or the other may have his share in the informations I'm putting here. And then I tell you what can you expect. So that's something about the mindset you should have as a precondition when you are going in for Oberon. This is written here. And then comes a very interesting section. Let's skip this for a moment. Here are the tutorials. What you see are just 2 links, but this will be in some times there will be a huge list of tutorials. Structured hierarchical, and for now you just have the Oberon base installation and the upgrade. This is more or less these are the tutorials I made on my German homepage that you already maybe one of you still remember, andresramos.de, but I closed this site down for certain reasons, and now I'm putting all this information here in this site. So let's click on native Oberon base installation, and in this tutorial I tell you how to obtain simple PC and checking the hardware if it's suitable for Oberon or not, and then tell you step by step in a very fine granular form what you have to do to get all the tools you need, and how to use them, how to package the information and the files. First install MS-DOS on your PC as a start platform, and from that on you can jump over to Oberon up to the point where the Oberon base installation is complete. At the end of the site you always have a link to go back to the main page, and let's go to the second tutorial. This is a native Oberon full upgrade, because the base installation is just the amount of files that is contained on the Oberon boot disk on the floppy. And this is a limited command set, and when you want to get the full upgrade you have to follow the information I have put here in this tutorial. And when you're done you have a fully fledged operating system named Oberon with everything you can get your hands on. Okay, I just want you to visit this page and check it out, and I hope you will take a look sometimes from time to time into this page for everything that's new. And the feature I want to show you is this here, a link to the Oberon file server. This is in fact a small repository I generated in the web space of the Oberon site. As you know, I made a lot of projects in Oberon, programming examples and small tutorials and code snippets and tools and all those stuff. And first I used the Google Drive as a repository. That's okay, but I wanted to merge this with the Oberon site itself, so I made an area, because this is not very much data here. The Oberon files are pretty short normally, and so I put this all together. So let's click on Oberon file repository, and here you see some categories. Not pretty much, as I said, the surface is pretty skinny up to now, so always tools and applications. So let's click on tools, and here you find the classical Oberon tools named text files with collection of commands I made. And for example, you have a USB stick tool I use for dealing with the USB stick, exchanging data, a world clock panel, and a backup server tool. And I want to take your information to this both areas here where you can download it, because I made a distinction between downloading with a normal PC like I'm using now and from Oberon itself. When you're using a normal PC you should put your mouse here on the link, and click right, and then you can choose a save file under some name. That's an easy way how you can download this file in, let's say, Linux or Windows. When you're using Oberon, we will use this line. This is because Oberon does not really know how to deal with something that is not an HTML file. So clicking on a hyperlink in Oberon normally means for the operating system going over to another HTML document. Downloading directly for something that's not HTML is not pretty much common in Oberon. It's possible with some limitations, but this is not the normal case. So I will explain you how you use this line here, which is not very much more than a simple Oberon command chain. Okay, let's go back and let's look into the second section here. This second category application. There's just one entry here you can see, and I'm going to explain what this is when we switch over to my Oberon platform. What we're going to do now. Okay, now you can see by some magic I've switched over to the Oberon world with just a snip of my fingers. And you can see the usual Oberon desktop with the gadget system. And now I'm going to start the Oberon Exploder panel by typing desktops OpenDoc Exploder panel. Of course you can't do this currently with your application because you don't have the Exploder yet downloaded, but I show you now how this works. Okay, sorry, so this is my application. Maybe one of you are feeling some kind of familiarity with this view of this panel here, because this is more or less copied by the famous Norton Commander you surely knew from DOS. So it's mainly divided into three sections. The upper section here is taking an init button. You always should press the first time, because when you press this, then the panel gets connected to the Oberon Exploder module. You can see here in the back the source code of the Exploder module. This is the intelligence behind it. Yes, and here you have some buttons to mount additional file systems. So the main application here is that you have your system files of your running Oberon application, Oberon system here on the left side, and an external hard drive or USB thumb drive on the right one, or even, let's say, another partition on your system. So you can move data forth and back, and also manage data by, let's say, deleting it or renaming it. So let's do this. But first I need to talk about this small area here. First you have to mount, of course, the partition or file system you're intending to use. So, because now I currently have connected an external USB drive, which is pre-formatted with the Oberon AOS system, and the name really is USB SCSI #02. So I just pre-filled this this text field here, but you can also go in with your mouse pointer and, let's say, make it the partition 1, but let's keep it to partition 2 because this is the one I want to use. And then I click on Mount AOS. So here you can see in the system log AOS was mounted, and now I can click here on List USB, and you can see it's filled now with the information of all those files I have on this external hard drive. And of course you can use a filter. You can see here's a filter string. Here's a typical wildcard, because this star here, or this multiplicator sign, is used for anything you can fill in. But let's constrain this, for example, to GIF files. Now we can click List USB, and now you only have those GIF files here. It's nice. And of course you have the same vice versa when you click on this button here on list this, then you have everything here what's contained on your currently running Oberon installation, and you can nicely use the scroll bar to go up and down. No, sorry, I did not fixed the panel yet because this was a prototype. Okay, so let's go up here and let's do the same. Let's filter for, let's say, text files. Okay, you can do text files. And now you have some tools to move data forth and back, as I said. You have here a copy section. You can see by those signs here that you can copy forth and back. Oh wait, so now that's better. So you can copy files from the system side to the external hard drive or the other way around. You can rename files, and of course you can delete files. So let's do the easiest thing first. Let's use copy. So you can mark or select. Yes, select is the right thing. Select those entries here by using the right mouse button. So let's, for example, click here and with the right mouse button and choose this one and this one. Now these both are highlighted, and when I click on copy with the arrow pointing to the right side, it should now be copied over to the USB drive. So let's see how this works. Yes, and here you can see the can't see the entries here in the log. Wait, can I drag it down? No, I can't drag it down. But now let's select text, and this both here are the one I copied over. You see? And of course it's possible the other way around. I can choose, for example, let's take something that is not safe critical. Yes, let's take one of those GIFs here. I'm using this GIF. First press F2 to deselect everything. Now select this one here with the right mouse button and let's copy over. Yes, and now if we applying the wildcard for GIF, then we should find tutorial 1P1 GIF here on this side, and it's this one here. Okay. And we also can rename files. So let's do this, for example, with this here, temp GIF. Temp is always something that you can rename safely. So let's use the right mouse button and select it. And then I click here on the rename file button. Sorry, that was wrong. I just don't remember my own manual. You have to middle click with the middle mouse button here on temp GIF, then it's copied over to the rename file section here. Then I click enable rename. I implemented this feature with the additional button to enable the function rename, which is more or less the same when we are going over to the delete side here. Just to be safe that you are not accidentally renaming something, which is not easy to roll back then. So you always have to confirm you want to do enabling, you want to do renaming something by clicking this button. This is just a toggle button, and when you can see this red indicator here, then the function is sharp and working. So now let's rename it to temp1 GIF, and now I click on do, and now it's renamed, and we should see, hopefully, yes, temp1 GIF. You can see it was renamed. You can work the other way around on this side, of course, but I won't show you this for now because this is exactly the same functionality. And of course you also can delete files in this way. So we select the file you want to delete by right-clicking with the mouse. We also can select multiple files, of course, but let's keep it simple with one file. You can see now it is selected, and now I click on Enable Delete, and they have two different buttons. Each side has its own button for deleting files. This is also because of this is for safety reasons. So now I say delete selected system files, and now you can see the temp1 is gone. It's not there anymore. Yeah. So you can see it's more or less a very simple version of the Norton Commander, and designed a little bit like one of the first versions of the Microsoft Explorer, the File Explorer, on the old Windows systems. When you're done with everything, you can click on Unmount here, and then it's unmounted. Yes, and you can do the same when you are using USB thumb drives that are formatted to FAT16. This is the format we are usually using. We are exporting something to the outer world, to the not Oberon world. And in this case you would have to press this button Mount FAT, that means Mount File System. But when you did so and the directory is mounted, you can use the same command without any restrictions, like I showed you with the AOS. So I think it's a pretty cool tool, because I'm doing a lot of work in Oberon, and the problem is always how can you make a safe copy of everything. And I also made some commands, some script commands in Oberon, in form of some tools that copy some fixed amount of data forth and back. But here we have really the flexibility you are used to from the good old Norton Commander, and I think there's really nothing to compare with this. It's still actual for me. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how the native Oberon page looks in Oberon itself. So let's do desktops, OpenDoc, HTTP, and then the address of our native Oberon page. Takes a time to load those pictures, but here you can see it's also presented nicely in a readable, simple but readable format in Oberon, the text document. So let's go down here a little bit, so you can see it's more or less the same structure, the same look and feel like on the other PC under Linux. And also you can click here, of course, on the further links. It's nice here because in my first tutorials I made on my Andres Ramos homepage, I had screenshots which were really screenshots. I made them with a camera from the display of my old Toshiba laptop, and the quality was really poor. But now I managed to make screenshots inside Oberon directly from the frame buffer, and these are really nice, quite more readable, and it's more eye candy. So let's go back to the main page, and now I want to show you this trick with the Oberon file repository. So now I click on the Oberon file repository, and let's click on Tools, for example, and you can see what I already showed you in my Firefox browser. So you remember, when you are using a normal browser with operating system like Linux or Windows, you click here with the right mouse button and choose Download File. When you're in Oberon, this works not always very good, because Oberon does not find a home page, which is what it expects. It finds a bunch of things that just don't know what to do with, and you can download it and can store it, but it's not it's a very clumsy process. Therefore, I generated this line here. And this is really interesting because you should remember the most important mantra in Oberon. You can execute Oberon commands from everywhere, literally everywhere on your desktop. And of course you can execute commands from inside an hypertext document, an HTML file. So this here, this command here, hyper-doc tools fetch blah 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 blah, is an Oberon command. And this is a module that exports a function named fetch that enables Oberon to fetch a file from an internet area and download it, like the same procedure like we would copy a file, like with system copy. We have an arrow here which indicates where you want to put the file and what you intend to name it. So for now I want to override this because I don't want to kill my original USB stick tool. So let's say USB stick 1, and now I middle click here on this command, and maybe you can see here the file was downloaded. Downloading done. So this is a really easy way where you can fetch files. And it's the same functionality and it's the same comfort as you're used to from other PCs. So I think this operating system is still full of wonders. So we almost reached the end of this video. I just want to tell you two more things. Let's say as a little update to the USB functionality of Oberon. I tried a lot of external USB storage types, and some part of them work and some do not. But I couldn't find a real structure why some are working, some not. Also, the thing is that usually the older the USB thumb drive or external hard drive you have, the more likely it is to work in Oberon. What I found out is that this old 4 GB USB stick from SanDisk is working very well. I have 3 partitions on it, formatted in FAT16, and they work quite good. And I found that this all, I don't know how much it is, I think 500 GB external USB hard drive from Zinc. The company is named Zinc. You can see the label here. It's working pretty well. It needs an additional external power supply, a USB power supply, and I'm using a Y-shaped cable for applying the power supply to the USB drive and then connecting this to my Oberon station. And this works also pretty well. I have one partition in Oberon and another partition in FAT16, and both work quite well, and it serves for me as a backup device for all those Oberon homepage stuffs, for the pictures, for the text files, for the compiled HTML files, and also for my code snippets and applications and tools and so on and so on and so on. So this is really cool. Maybe you should just try to find some old USB drives on the flea market or maybe on eBay for a few bucks and just try them. I'm sure you will find some, 1, 2 or 3 that will do the work, and when they do their work they will do the work forever, because if you're not overstressing those devices then they will keep alive for many years. Yeah, in the next video I think I'm going to show you a little bit on how to generate HTML files, or how to do HTML design, which is very simple, as you now already know, in Oberon, because Oberon has a quite cool tool named HTML, which is essentially a compiler that converts the Oberon text files into an HTML format, but on a very limited way. It's something around HTML version standard 3 point something like that. So it's pretty old, and the set of HTML commands that Oberon supports is pretty limited. But you also can put in Oberon commands that the compiler just skips over. But they're still active on the HTML page, so this is another way to put a little more HTML functionality inside your sites. And I want to show you this because I want to encourage you that you maybe also want to do some kind of HTML site that you make an Oberon. Okay, so that's all for now, folks. Thank you very much. Bye, have a nice weekend, and see you again.